So there are three types of functions in Python. So the first function is what we call the built-in function. So for example, help, we've already used this, minimum or mean, which used to get the minimum value. Print, we use this all the time. All these are what we refer to as built-in function. The second one, which we're going to be looking at in this video, is called the user-defined function. All right, this function is where the user actually actually creates it using the def keyword. And then last, we have the anonymous function, sometimes called the lambda function, which of course doesn't use the def keyword. All right, so let's look at an example of a user-defined function. So let's go ahead and create a function that multiplies its argument by 2. So we start by typing the def keyword. Then we say, okay, so we want that this function to take a double, right? So it's called double, and we want this double to actually we can even do a documentation. So we can write some documentation here and say this function multiplies its argument, right? Argument by 2. All right, so by 2. So the next statement here is we want it to return. So here we want it to return x multiplied by 2. Okay, so that's it. So that's just a simple function. So we can run that. And then so when we print, so we can say, okay, so we want to reference our function now. So double, so we want it to double maybe a number. We pass a number here, or x before. So it returns 8. So what if we want to double, let's say, a float? So if we do that, it doubles that. And in fact, this function can also double a string. So if I say ABC, all right, so it actually just doubles the string. So you can see this is a very simple function that we've already defined that actually just multiplies its argument by 2. So let's go ahead and create another function, which just is called sum of squares. So you can just define. So remember, you can define it using your own words. It should be meaningful, right? So we can call this sum of squares. We're saying text to argument A and B. Remember, we have a colon here. Okay, you can put some documentation here and say this computes. So this function computes the sum of. So this will be just the sum of arguments, right? Arguments squared, like that. Okay, don't mind the errors here. So again, here that just helps us to remember that. So again, here that's where the power lies. So we want to return the first argument. We want to return the square. So that's how we type the square, right? Plus, so we want to square A. And then we also want to square B. So we want to square B, we just use the double asterisk, right? And that's it. So once I create this function, so let's say we pass, so we reference our function now. It's called sum of squares. So sum of squares. So again, there was an error here. So we can correct this. So this will be square written like that. So I have to redo that. Can see here, we can do that. But now we need to pass some values. So let's say we want to pass some values, 2 values, 3, 4. So we run that and you can see now, first of all, it squares that. So 3 squared 2, that will be 9 plus 16, which is equals to 25. And lastly here, you can see here, there's another example here that captures an input, right, from your keyboard, stores it on a name, and then we pass it as so we check, if there's something from the from the keyboard input, then we want this to print hello and greet us. Otherwise, if there's nothing, we print hello. All right, so let's do that. So let's run that, and then we call our function here hello. We can say okay, so let's say you want to type your name John. Can see we are greeted here, hello John. What if we just enter and we don't put anything? So we get this else part of the statement. What if you put a number? So just say hello 100, because Here we also try to convert the keyboard input to string. That's why we're able to. But the other ways you can actually validate that. So again, in summary, this is just a small tutorial or demonstration on functions. So there are many ways you can write many lines of code of different functions that can perform different things. So, but again, this is how just to write a user-defined function using this keyword def.